So let's get on to our next review, which would be American Skin.
You remember me?
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, officer.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please?
Of course. My license is right here, my wallet. It's all right, son. You remember the night in July?
Hands up! Hey! Wait! Put the phone down! Put that phone!
It's a phone!
It's a cell phone! It's just a cell phone!
You knew he was unarmed.
Get to the car and put your hands in the air! Austin, please, he's just a kid!
You pointed your gun at him.
Okay, get out of the car, son. Easy.
You pulled the trigger.
Put the phone away! Put the phone away!
The grand jury determined that no probable cause exists to file any charges against Officer Randall.
This is my son. This is my little boy. You took that from me. The world took that from me. Today we make that right. Hear me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Don't stop filming.
You should just give up now.
Why are we the only people in this country that are expected to do things without violence?
I didn't mean to kill your son!
What you did.
I did what I was trying to do!
I just want justice. That's all I want. This is your jury. The deciders of your fate. Today, you will be tried for the murder of my son. You scared? Are you afraid?
Wow.
Okay, so American Skin, directed by Nate Parker, written by Nate Parker, acted by Nate Parker. A war veteran seeks justice when police kill his unarmed son during a routine traffic stop. Very powerful film. It was just so many layers of messages. And it was a very deep, impactful movie once you really got into the meat and potatoes of the film. I loved it.
This is how you come back, Nate Parker. This is how you come back. He's been on a hiatus. He's been on a exile from his last stint. And for him to write this, star in it, and all the above, I thought was excellent. Keep doing these things, and he'll be back on top in 5 years. I guarantee. This one, it was sort of an example of what we saw the insurgents on the Capitol. It's like what happens when they do it, but when we do it, we see what happens. And this story never gets old. We see it every day. We see it on CBS or on All Rise. They just had a case like this on that. We see it on the news every night. We have multiple films and shows on it. But it's like every time, it's like we have to keep having these conversations and showing these things to drum that one of these projects or scenes will change the perspective of someone. And I think that the mission accomplished was done with this adaptation of the violence and the brutality and the senseless killing. So I applaud Nate and everybody on this project.
Yeah.
What you think? How you felt?
Oh, there were so many emotions watching this. It's like you felt like you were in that room, in that police station, and feeling every single emotion. I'm happy to see Nate Parker back on the scene. The fact that he sort of, has been exiled because of circumstances years ago. I'm happy to see him back on the scene. He is a
brilliant,
absolutely brilliant. And now, like, this is it. This is my brilliance. This is what I can do. The story was well told from every side. The police officers, him, the family,
the prison, the guys in prison.
Talk about it. Talk about
the
it.
random people, the guys who were locked in holdup. He told every part perfectly.
Yes.
Like, you sat there, and while you were still feeling what the father was feeling, you actually were listening to what the cops were saying. Like, oh, dang. That's how brilliant his mind is. So I'm just happy that he's back on the scene. Mm-hmm. This is Parker. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant film.
And just to add to that real quick, this circumstance, I feel like it was the only way to have this conversation.
Right.
It's like, unless you force people to sit down and trap them in a room, you're not going to have this conversation.
No.
It's just not going to exist.
No.
Lorena, what you think?
This was a lot for me.
I know it was.
You know, the little boy KJ, there were so many parallels with just, with my life. Not that I, served in the Middle East, but, Link, who, Nate Parker played, he worked as a custodian in this like private school so that his son KJ could go there and have this ultra exclusive private education, right? And so that is a clear parallel. Obviously, my son is going to this private school where he's in the minority. And, one of the scenes that really struck me, there were quite a few, but one of the scenes that struck me was when KJ was talking to his friend. His friend didn't go to the same school as KJ, right? So KJ is telling his friend what he learned in this private school, right? About the Constitution, and that you have the right to do this, and you got the right to even resist the police officer. In comes Link at the appropriate time. In comes his father, because his friend is like, yo, you bugging, like, it's not right. You crazy. We can't do that. And so his father comes in at the right moment, and he's like, wait, what are you all talking about? And he says, his son is like, yo, with the Constitution. And he's like, yes, but, and his son starts to kind of rise up like, no, there's no buts, because he's living in this bubble that the other white kids live in, right? Because he believes in the American rule of law, the Constitution, all this. And so his dad sits down and has the talk with him at that point, basically to let him know, yes, there is the Constitution, but these laws were not written with us in mind. And so he tells his KJ's friend also, no, you listen in on this too, because you need to hear this. And I need you to do whatever you need to do to live, to make it
come home, to make it home.
And so for me, in thinking about, the KJ who was killed was only 14, right? That's Taylor's 11, right? And KJ just had a phone in his hand. And all he was doing was filming, right? But he lived in this bubble because he's an American, and he's like, listen, these are our rights, right? I'm Black, but I'm an American first. And so he's going to this school, and this is what they're teaching him. So he's living in this bubble that the other white kids don't ever have to come out.
That's their everyday. That's the reality. So he's able to spit the Constitution, as if, because that's their reality.
Right.
I mean, I think
we have rights, and we have this, and that's the perspective of the bubble that he's in.
Right.
Yeah,
but that's not our experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I don't have any kids, but I know we all work hard. I know Lorena could speak to this. You, as parents, you work hard to give your kids a better life, but sometimes in our community, we give them that better life, but we don't always have that conversation that you're having this better life, but you still have to be mindful of the fact that you are a person of color. So even though you're growing up around a whole bunch of white folks and everything like that, you still have to be careful and mindful of your situation. And I can actually put myself in that situation too, because I grew up in Toronto, when I left Trinidad. So I was surrounded by a bunch of Italians, and, most of my friends were white. So when I came to New York, it was a totally different experience for me, because I wasn't around folks that came from the ghetto or came from, what I'm saying, or lower income families or anything like that of Black folks. So for me, my world was always around white folks, so I was comfortable. I didn't see myself as the first time I got called a nigger was when I came to New York, and I lived in Long Island, and I was walking home, and I just heard them, they did it in the car. So my experiences started to shift and change when I got here to New York. And I never had that conversation with my parents, my mom, my uncle, or any of that type of stuff until I think I started getting older and I was here in New York.
Yeah, I found myself, I will tell you, 30 minutes in, that was the opening scene, I was already anxious and on it and crying. 30 minutes. I think I cried like 3 or 4 times. And one of the things, there were multiple perspectives to look at this from. Obviously, Link served his country, right? He comes back after serving the highest honor, right? Defending democracy, right? He comes back to this country, and the only job he can get really is
custodian. Yeah.
They treat veterans like shit. Yeah. That was one of the messages that they gave.
Yep. Yeah. Let go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the other thing was for me, with when the police officer said he profiled them, and then he looked at the jury and he said, they said, listen, y'all want, yes, we did profile them. Y'all you don't want people breaking in your cars. You don't want your house burglarized. These are the things we do to keep you safe. And I just sat back for a second. Because in our communities too, we want them to do those kinds of things. Because if somebody is driving around late at night that maybe don't belong there, you want someone looking out, maybe, obviously not, shooting the kid with, with the phone. But those are the things, those are like those decisions that are made to keep different communities safe. And it just made me think like, because I always think like, I don't want to call the police on someone because there are repercussions to that. Like you got to stop and think before you even pick up that phone to call and say, oh, it's a suspicious car on my block. Because that person may not make it home.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem.
It shouldn't be that.
Yep.
It shouldn't. That's the problem. But that's the thing that certain folks don't see.
Right.
Yes, you are canvassing a neighborhoods, whatever. We know there's a bad element. We know that. But that bad element could be any color.
You're right about that.
You can't just say it's all Black and brown people or whatever, especially when you in a neighborhood of all our people. You know what I mean? And even if they're not, like Link and KJ, they were driving home from a friend's house. And it was like, first of all, you see dad and son. I mean,
no. You don't see dad and son.
They just saw a car.
You see a car and you see two
black folks.
People.
Right. When they drove by, right. But then they stopped them, and he was following everything. And he's like, where are you coming from? Now they're asking the questions or whatever. My point is that at some point, you should be able to say, all right, this is a father. He showed me his, and if he
but the other cop was already.
If he did have an expired, go ahead, Brian.
No. I'm just saying the other cop, the cop that shot the son, he was already on 11 from the time they did that stop.
No,
because
I know.
So it's hard to evaluate a situation of, oh, that's a father and son when I'm already on 11 from the time I saw the car.
But that's my point. He's already on 11 because they Black. That's what I'm saying. It's like the mentality of not all cops, but certain cops is guilty before innocent. You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then what they do is they take that excuse, well, we protecting y'all, we got to ask the question, and they use that to do excessive force and excessive decisions and like that's what they do. He could have tackled KJ easily. He 14, tackle him to the ground. Tackle him.
But he made
and that's the point that Link was trying to make in the confession.
Right.
That was where he was staring it to. It's just like it wasn't about us speeding, it was profiling. But I wanted to get to a point.
Well, Lydia was saying something about what he could have done, but the police officer said that was another point for me. They're not taught to de-escalate. The police aren't. The levels of, because if you work for Secret Service, Capitol Police, they're taught different de-escalation techniques. The blue boys in blue, they're not taught to de-escalate. He's like, once the gun is drawn, it's drawn, which is wrong. Like once you draw the gun, if there's no need to fire, then you need to.
Yeah, but I see that as bullshit, because my whole thing is you still have, as a human being, there's still things within you where you know how to assess certain situations and think about those situations. So I understand that if you're in a hostile environment, which they were not ever in a hostile environment, then you can keep that gun out, and then, you know, you may be forced to use the gun or whatever. There was no situation at all, first of all, that warranted him to draw a gun, because the kid had his phone out all the time. Why are you drawing a gun on a person with a phone out and all they're doing is recording you? So
no, he explained why. He said he was scared and he thought he was going after.
And
there's another.
He said that this is my training. This is what I was trained to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to go to a particular scene where we're at the child's mother's house, and the family's there, and the cops are there to console the mom and give their apology.
Oh, yes.
And the nephew was going off and recording. That scene right there, that wasn't even like a scripted scene. That was like a documentary. That was real. When that scene happened, I stood up and like, okay, this is what we doing? This is where we going? Like, that was one of the realest scenes and conversations that I've seen.
Yeah. That they sent the black captain or whatever in to talk to the black family. Like, you go in and you, because you can relate. They your people. Go and bring them down. What? No. In that situation, you a part of them. We gonna come at you the same way. You understand what I'm saying? It was so real. That the young man, he was like, nah, you in our house. What you doing? How you gonna come in here? You killed my cousin. He don't got no more birthdays. He ain't gonna do, like, he was just and I was in tears. I was in tears because we feel this every single day. There's nothing you can say to us to justify gunning down a 14-year-old boy like a dog. There's nothing.
And don't tell me to calm down.
And don't tell me to
calm down. Don't tell me to not raise my voice. I'm in my home.
Yes. He was like,
so that's what we gonna do? He was like, oh, you gonna stand, like, you standing up to, like, coming in here and you standing up like, oh, you gonna kill me in my auntie house?
Right. Right. Oh, what? So now you gonna, you in my auntie house and you still gonna show forth? What you gonna do to me? You gonna shoot me here too? Like, come on. We can't be angry. We can't be frustrated. We can't be mad. We gotta be the ones that's just, peaceful and talk kind and stuff like that. No, we have a right to be angry. We do. We have a right to be angry. It was emotional, that whole scene. The whole doggone movie was emotional.
Brian, I need a scene from you. Give me a scene. What hit you?
I
got multiples. I can give you another one.
I mean, I have several, but the whole trial, the trial was just very intense to me, and it was just so dope. You know, I think when he finally broke down, when
he's the cop.
Yeah, when Link was breaking down to the cop of exactly what happened when he was just like, okay, I was speeding. How fast was I going? What did you clock me at? And when he broke the whole thing down to finally get him to admit that he profiled them and they weren't speeding, that it was just that he saw this car, beat it down old car in this good neighborhood, and two black people one behind the wheel and the other one in the passenger seat, and that was all he needed to do. And then they concocted this whole speeding thing. It was deep. I love that scene because it tells you a lot. And I also love the scene when he put the gun to the cop's head and told him to call his wife and speak to him. This is after he was convicted by the jury. And he called his wife to give them his last conversation and last words to the wife and the child. And then Link pulled the trigger, and of course there was no bullets in there, but he just wanted him to feel what he was feeling throughout this whole experience.
Life is in someone else's hands. Yeah. You are not in control.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. How you feel? How you like it now? How you feel now? You know what I'm saying?
By the way, shout out to great casting of the son with Nate Parker, because they looked spot on alike.
You know how I am with casting.
Yeah.
Thinking the same. And wasn't it good to see our boy Ghost?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we gotta get that. Omari Hardwick.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good to see him in a different type of role.
Yes.
And he played the mess out of that role too.
He did. But the dude from,
like you said.
Wait, say that again.
Oh, and Vanessa Bell Calloway.
Yes.
Looked amazing.
And what's the dude's name? He's played in a lot of TV.
The older black man?
That he played Latifah's dad in
Yeah. Latifah's dad.
Yeah. No, we gotta get his name. No, let me Google. We gotta stop doing that.
Khadijah.
No, we gotta stop doing
Khadijah's dad.
No,
everybody in our circle knows Khadijah.
I'm gonna get his name right now.
He's looking for the name. Another scene that broke me down was
Michael Warren.
Go ahead, Michael Warren.
Yes, Michael Warren. When they called the police station and Link, answered the phone. This is the first time he speaks to the negotiator, right? And he just says, "I want my son. I want my son. I want my son." I felt the anger and the emotion in those words, and I just started crying. Like, he's like, "You can't, I want my son. You're not listening. I want my son." And I felt all of his angst and his pain as a father, because it was one scene when he was like, "I ain't shit," because he was right there. Imagine as if he was right there and could not protect his baby.
Right there.
And all of the ball of emotions I felt in that moment when he said, "I want my son," I literally started crying. I just started crying.
Yeah. No, this is a film that I think that we could talk about for another hour, like going scene by scene.
Yeah, you're right.
But I want to give us some time to really get into Salt and Pepper and not be rushed. And so I just want to go around the room. Is there any final thoughts you have about this film?
No, I mean, I just want to say, I mean, with the good of how great the film was, for me, it was a little slow in the beginning. So I also want to balance out my positive with the negative. That's all. I have to give it both ways.
I feel like all I hear from you is everything. No matter what we watch, it's slow. If you want,
wait till we get to Salt and Pepper.
I love the way they filmed this movie. Also, I love the way the movie was filmed. The perspective, like the lens that you got to look at the different characters. I love that.
Yeah, I loved it. And
You give it a 5, Al?
Yeah.
Lydia,
Yeah.
you give it a...
no, a 5.
Okay. B?
4.
That's a good rating.
4 is not a bad. 4 is not a bad rating.
It's a 4
Why does it have
because
to
of
be a
the
5?
slow start.
It's a 4 because of a slow start. Yeah.
Go ahead. What you said? Okay.
The return of Nate Parker. Yeah.
Yes. Come on, Nate, because she was looking good too. Okay.